In the last session on the fathers and sons ministry, or parents and children ministry in the end time, we have already explained that the present apostolic generation that are rising are like the forerunner to usher in the King of Kings. But ushering in is about the revival that will precede the arrival of the King. In Luke chapter 1, verse number 17, that we have talked about the John the Baptist. The angel said he will also go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Now he said to turn the heart of the fathers to the children. Many versions put it in diverse ways, especially from Malachi chapter 4, where it was first quoted. Let's check that Malachi chapter 4, verse number 5 and 6. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the children, of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. Now, it is what the angel were putting in another way here: the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the father. But when he was quoting it to Zechariah, he just said the heart of the father to the children, and the children he doesn't say children now to the father. He just said the disobedient to the wisdom of the just. We'll come back to that. But then when he said he will change the heart of the fathers to the children and the heart of the children to the father, various translations makes it clear. God's word translation said he will change parents' attitude to their children, and the children's attitude towards their parents. That means from negative to positive, unhealthy reservation to positive, wholehearted love. Parents could be reserved, but then from isolation to fellowship, hatred to love. Good News translation says he will bring fathers and children together again. New Century Version, that put it other way, say Elijah will help parents to love their children and children to love their parents. Now from all this, we just understand that the children and the parents will go along. The fathers and the sons ministry will go along in this end time. That's for the Malachi. Now when we now come to Luke chapter 1 verse 17, it said he will turn the heart of the fathers to the children. We'll be talking on that later, the heart of the fathers to the children. We will end this series with that in the next session. But in this session now, it said, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just. Instead of saying, and the heart of the children to their fathers, it just said, the disobedient to the wisdom of the just. If it's a continuation of what is being said, then there's a food for thought. Now, I have seen a vital sign that revival is knocking. Why? Because the hearts of the children are turning towards the fathers, and the hearts of the fathers in return will also turn. But our emphasis is on the time when the father and sons The old and the new school, according to we could call it in our present modern language, will move together. When I see this rising generation of men and women of apostolic operating at the cutting edge with love and due respect for the fathers in the faith, I got excited, because this is the generation I have been told about over 2 decades and I've been waiting to see. Let's first go to the children. When you say the disobedient to the wisdom of the just. Now, naturally, Rick Joyner had a revelation, and then God took him to heaven, and he saw an individual he knew when he was on earth, who had been privileged possibly to tutor him, and that tutoring has not actually gone successfully. And the man told Rick Joyner, I'm waiting for you to apologize to you for how I failed in my tutoring. And he said, he answered the man, and he said, I also know I was a stubborn child. And the man replied him, he said, every child is expected to be stubborn, naturally. But the fathers are expected to be fathers all the time. And so, now that once makes it clear. And then when he said disobedient to the just, to the wisdom of the just, we have said the wisdom belongs to the adult, belongs to those who have consistently worked with God, and they have the wisdom of experience of age that can be of a benefit and blessing in the kingdom to others. But you see, when we talk of disobedience, somebody said our present generation is a generation of the arrogant. It's an arrogant generation. But then whatever affects the world, we'll see the reflection in the kingdom. And then we are in the kingdom now. When the young people in ministry were bossy, and bossy it over the people under them, which they feel the spirit of service is not what they entertain, but the spirit of bossiness and leadership. Now they want to be of independent spirit. That means they want to do things the way they like. The youthful lust is there. They have their loss of vision and passion for the reality. They have their loss of vision and passion for reality. When it comes to natural, they lose vision, they lose passion. To some of them as a competitive spirit, they began to judge without understanding the measurement in which God is using to judge them or judge the ministry. And the Bible says they that compare themselves among themselves are not wise. Some of them were proud, either because of gift, because of revelation, because of power, because of finance, some because of academics, and they will do all hateful things that will make them to become hated. And sometimes again on the side of the father could lose relevance, fear of losing relevance, and therefore not really wanting to allow these children to actually express themselves. And the children have their excesses, sometimes in their wrong association. Worldliness is there, inability to maintain fame and success. At the period of fame and success, some of them just lose ground. Many things named them, there were many there in their life. But let me submit this. None of this is big enough to allow us lose vision of purposes divine and kill the coming revival. No, it's not enough. Knowing that young generation will not go so far on a man to anything when the fathers are just decide to say let them be whatever they can be, because some of them don't know when the noise subsided. What do I mean by that? Fame, noise, and so on in ministry. It is like you put a detergent inside water. You stir it. The foam comes up. Everybody feel the drum is filled. But the time will come when everything will cool down. And then they will know the level of that person. There was a time a young man was brought around to work with us. And he has related with the prophetic. And therefore related with others. And he came and everybody were telling me, because he will pick this word, he will pick that word, and they were saying, this man. And I told the other minister who have been under me as children, I said some of the things he was saying was not his own. I said it's not his own personal development, because I look at his life. And I said when he runs short of all those things, he begin to repeat himself. And that's exactly what happened. I was able to see through because of the level of grace that God gave to me. Now, eventually the flow of the detergent over the water got settled and would see. Not many of the young men know how they could maintain now the fame and the success and the noise that comes up because of the shallowness under. And yet, we must know that God has designed it so much that the ministry of the end time was much on them. And then we must be able to help them. And thank God you are not just attacking. Let me show you something from this diagram. And it has happened in various moves. If you see this side, I am using this diagram to explain about new move. Now, a new move is talking about a new embassy in the kingdom, what God is doing part time, or the restoration of a particular truth or practice to the body of Christ. And when he brings it, know that there are some people who will see it first. Now, it will rise. This is the rising point of new move. It will get to its climax. And when it gets to its climax, it will descend again. Not that it died. You will understand later in this diagram. It descended, it doesn't die, but it normalizes. Now, when it gets to climax, when it's coming down to normalize, another move will have risen under. And then you will see them at the point wherein one is trying to rise while the other is trying to normalize. Then there is a conflict, a point of conflict. I've been in the Christian movement and I've seen things. At the time, it was just Christianity. Everybody tried to do whatever they can do. And one of the things that was reigning by that time is the evangelists organizing crusade, freelance here and there. But eventually there come holiness move. And what happened? Holiness will attack the other practices. And then as the holiness goes, and then coming down to normalize, the prosperity move comes. The holiness, we are talking about the prosperity, they say they are worldly, they are of the world, they are not children of God, they are not going to heaven. And why the prosperity move that was rising was also attacking them and said, these people, they will just be morose, they are sadists, they will dress as if they were heavenly minded and earthly useless and all kinds of things. But all those moves, if they come from God, they'll rise, they get to climax, they will normalize. And after holiness, we have this move of the prosperity, and later prophetic comes in this very nation. Here we are now talking of the apostolic and the prophetic. This point number 3 is the confluence, place of conflict, the settlement of the move. Now, the beauty of the apostolic that is rising in this place now, as they were rising, as they meet one move on ground, and they were trying to rise. God is helping that this junction is being maintained. Now, normal thing is the rising move to accuse, to oppose, to talk against the one that is normalizing. Why? Because every new move is going to see the fault in the former one. It has been like that over the years. But that should not be their emphasis of preaching, because they are to add what they need, what they have to the body, because others will come after them and find their own need again. Now, but by God's grace, they were not coming to attack the fathers, but rather they were trying to be part, respect the father in what the fathers have done, understanding that to see better, they will need to stand on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead of them, and they will need to relate well with them before they allow them to stay on their shoulder. In the rising of any move, there will be a lot of things, including opportunists. Now, let me explain. Let me use this to explain. Now, when a new truth comes, this is the mainstream of the truth. What I mean by mainstream of the truth, especially if you have the history of restoration of the church after the dark age, God began to return back to the church various doctrine, truth, practices about the church, like water baptism and so on, holiness and so on at one time or the other. At the beginning, it started in the interval of 100 years and later moved down to 10 years. And in this apostolic generation, there will be deep things coming into the body. And then that's the mainstream of the truth. Now, this circle we see is like a new move. When a new move comes, it goes left and right outside the mainstream. This is the mainstream stream of the truth. The truth, the body of the truth. You will have the excesses of it. You see, that's why this one is more pure than this. But by and by, those who went into excesses will normalize. We're seeing it almost in all moves. Now, eventually they will normalize, because things that were done outside the body of the truth, on the name, pretense, or ignorant, doing it wholeheartedly of the new revelation, new truth that has come, then they have the excesses. But with time, because it's God who brought it, we don't know how long it will take. He will see that this human factor that brought excesses are normalized. But if you see this one, we call it opportunity. It is shallow in the appearance to this. Now, after the truth, the whole move new move has been naturalized or normalized, and then become the part of the body of the truth. What I mean is this: nobody argue without holiness, no man shall see the Lord. Nobody argue with we need to be baptized in water and various truths like that. There was a time they were restored to the body and there was an argument. But now they are normal. Now by the time they were normal and it doesn't look like something new or something to be argued, you find those who form a camp because they are opportunists. Let me take, for example, let's see prosperity move. As the prosperity come, now various leaders of a new move were born from the old move. Now let me pick prosperity for example. We all know that, and one of the major force in the prosperity in our nation that is alive today will be this our respected father Bishop Oyedepo. But Oyedepo will not argue with the truth, because he knew the truth, he understands the truth, he knows the importance of salvation, he knows why Jesus died, and so on. And won't tell anybody as if to say if you have gotten money, you are ready for heaven. But you see, the opportunities will now form a camp. If they are talking about salvation, it's on the prosperity. If they are talking on righteousness, it's on the prosperity. If they are talking on any subject, it's on the prosperity. Why? Because as long as it's lucrative to them, it's okay for them. As long as it's lucrative, then it must be God, it must be good, and that's what we're going on. And then almost every month I've seen that. It has happened in the prophetic. There are people who feel that this prophetic is an opportunity. When you give people the word of the Lord, it helps you to make things in good time. And they brought in excesses. Excesses, some of them are normalized, some are yet so, but some has become opportunists, and what they want to do is to make sure they make profit out of it. Now, these are the part of the necessity of the fathers in the body. The end time revival is there, and it will be wonderful with fathers' support, but the main actor still remain the children. But they cannot do it alone. When God was talking to me about this generation and talk of those who were right, he told me something I will never forget. He said, if you try to compete with them, I'll crush you. Everybody has his place to play, and then let's play it effectively. In Ecclesiastes chapter 10, let me talk to younger generation. Verse 16, it says, woe unto you, O land, when your king is a child, and your princes feast in the morning. Blessed are you, O land, when your king is the son of noble, and your princes feast at the proper time for strength, and not for drunkenness. Now, in Proverbs chapter 13, verse number 20, Proverbs 13, verse 20, it says, he who walks with the wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. Now, it's an opportunity we relate with men who understand better than us. It helps us to be wise without destroying our own calling, without getting into yes face or whatever it is. Due respect, due love that is of the spirit, not like master and slave. No, not like that. And then you have the opportunity, you walk with the wise men, you become wise. But he said, the companion of fools shall be destroyed. Like Rehoboam, he will need to lose the kingdom, because he was depending upon young fellows like himself. They are good for their association, but in crucial matter, you need the wisdom of the adult. The necessity of the father must be clear to our generation, because they were there because of us. God did not destroy Genesis to Malachi because we have the New Testament. No. Now, the main practice in the church and some principle in the church were drawn from New Testament practices and scriptures. And we should understand that. In Proverbs chapter 30, reading from verse number 11. Proverbs chapter 30 from verse number 11. It says, there is a generation that curses his father and that does not bless his mother. There is a generation that is pure in his own eyes, yet is not worth from his filthiness. There is a generation, oh how lofty are their eyes and their eyelids, and lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are like sword, and whose fangs are like knife, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. Men were a generation upon generation. Now I told you, I said many practices we have in the New Testament were drawn from the Old. Now it stands as the strength of the Old. Jesus said, a scribe that is instructed to the kingdom is like a man taking out of his treasure things old and things new and old. And so in the same way, fathers are not there just because of revelation or material possession and so on, but because of their relevance and their tenacity in the past truth. They are giving their generation what was needed. The strength comes from their standing, and then the beauty and the glory is coming from the present church. Our Father, let's become serviceable. Let's see that the new move that God is bringing, we all work together and to see that God's purposes and will are fulfilled in this end time. God bless you all.